Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Tuesday, March 18th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat, stateless patriot of the Central Valley. We are California lefties coming to you with comments and questions about national politics, all sorts of insanity ensuing in Washington, D.C. these days. I
No
have
kidding.
been networking a ton, and man, it's grim. It sounds like they might be going after Medicaid soon,
Oh yeah,
and like what a disaster this is.
yeah.
Stat Pat, what's on your mind right now?
I mean, a whole hell of a lot. Israel resuming its campaign in Gaza, and I guess
Right.
they're kicking off an operation in the West Bank as well. It's just chaos, and not to mention we have the U.S. military directly engaging with the Houthis near the Red Sea in Yemen right now as well. So it's just I mean, it's still chaos. The chaos still continues, and then of course this whole Chuck Schumer
Yeah.
bending over for MAGA and just
Yeah.
betraying all Democrats and every American essentially. Um, just beyond disgraceful. Like words don't even fully come into mind to describe it, and not to mention um, worth talking about at some point. Gavin Newsom and his strategy or whatever the fuck with his new podcast and shit.
Yeah, and he did Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, and now today I saw he did Tim Walz. So he's all over the place. It's like, what is
Get
it,
Tim
dude?
Walz on.
Yeah, Tim Walz is on his.
Interesting.
Yeah. I haven't listened to it yet, but
Yeah, me neither. I didn't know
yeah,
he did that.
Gavin Newsom's a pretty easy read. He's just really
Yeah.
preoccupied with getting everyone to like him. He's just one
Yeah.
of those guys. Like I don't if I run for office, I'm not going to care if you like me. I care more about you respecting me.
Right.
And I think that's what American voters want right now is someone that doesn't give a fuck on the
Yeah.
left who is like, yeah, these MAGA idiots, bullies, and cowards are exactly that. They
Hmm.
voted in fascism. This is what they're getting. You're seeing a lot of people do the fuck around and find out thing,
Yes. That seems to be
and
really common.
a lot of MAGA voters are regretful about their vote. And
That's yeah, true. It's
and
happening a lot. I got a friend that keeps on sending me statuses on Facebook of MAGA voters, people who voted for Trump, like expressing their regrets and like how ashamed they are because they got played. And it's like, yeah, the entire base really got played. Those who aren't, sucking at the teat of Fox News every second of every day are able to actually see this,
right,
especially those um, who are part of the communities that are directly impacted by the Trump administration's actions.
yep,
So it's encouraging to see, but like, is it too little, too late? Who knows? I mean, maybe the Democrats and all their universal wisdom will be like, oh, we can get those guys to vote for us. That's our next strategy, even though it's been the fucking strategy since Clinton.
yeah, exactly. No, playing to the center is the modus operandi of the
Hmm.
Democratic Party, and they are delusional if they think that they're going to get these MAGA people to vote Democrat. I mean, I know this is like chaos right now. I know it's dark right now. We're in the seventh circle of hell right now,
Yeah,
but just knowing conservatism like I do, I doubt a lot of these people are going to show up for Democrats in 26 or 28. I mean,
right.
my policy is everybody is welcome in the new America except for heartless one percenters and Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts. That is the core
Right.
of MAGA. As long as you're not a Confederate flag waver, a Bible beater, no problem with the Bible readers, and not a gun nut. No, notice I didn't say responsible gun owners because I got a pitch for them.
Of course.
um, it's as long as you're not part of that core MAGA, like, but you've got to define the enemy. Like, this is war, so you have to
Yes.
define what we're up against. And yeah, it is tech feudalism, but those tech broligarchy is empowered by a base of Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts.
Yeah,
Like
especially
they
now.
have been empowered by it. So
Yeah,
I, I don't really feel sympathy for these regretful MAGA voters. Like
me neither.
you did the same thing. You had 4 years of him to look at and be like, okay, it's going to be a more extreme version of this, and then you voted for it anyway.
No
So,
kidding.
my response to them is if you are ready to listen and to learn from people who know better than you, then yeah, we can talk. But if you're a regretful MAGA voter right now, and you don't come to me hat in hand, then I'm not really interested in anything you have to say,
Right.
unless you're going to start with listening and,
Yeah. At the
like
very
talking about policy, like, look at the policies. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, at the very least, just like listen to people who warned you time and time again just who Trump was and what he was planning to do. You're right. We had 4 year record to look at what he did and what he tried to do and wasn't able to accomplish because of the bureaucracy that was in his way. But now he's dismantling that bureaucracy. And what is he doing it for? Not to achieve anything particularly good, at least for me and you. It's to do favors for his billionaire buddies. It's
Right.
it's to enrich a circle of the wealthiest people in the world. Doing favors for people obviously who funded his campaign as well. It's like that's how the system has worked for uh, uh, the longest time now. And Trump is not immune from that. He's not draining the swamp. He is the swamp. He's just getting
Right.
rid of people who's uh, standing in the way of his agenda. It's his
Hmm.
agenda has always been self-serving, but people just continue to fall for it. Like you've had 8 years. Like you can't vote for this guy 3 times and then all of a sudden when he starts like utilizing the most power that any president has had in history arguably, uh, when he uses said power to go after things that actually helps you or people you know or your family or friends or whatever, or make your particular situation worse, you can't turn around and be like, oh, I didn't know. Like, no, because like
Yeah.
you're
I
not
don't feel
immune.
sorry for you.
Yeah, you're
I
not
don't feel
immune from
sorry
that
for you.
shit.
I
Of
don't feel
course.
sorry for you one goddamn bit. It's like we told you not to put your hand in the cookie jar
Hmm.
because there was a fucking rattlesnake in there
Yeah.
and you did it
Yeah.
anyway and you got bit. And now you want me to respect you? Like, you
No.
know, as soon as they say I repent and I'll never vote Republican again,
Yeah.
then that's fine. We can talk. But until you're ready to say I'll never vote Republican again, then I really don't have any sympathy for you. And my prerogative is to get more people to vote than ever have in previous elections and get that participation rate up to 80% instead of 55, 60%, which is what it usually is.
Yeah, and that in and of itself is going to be it's going to end up being even harder than before because of the actions of one Senator Chuck Schumer. It like what he did was so disgraceful that according to reporting, multiple people approached AOC the night that that vote was being cast. It was the procedure vote to make it that the continuing resolution bill would be able to pass through a simple majority, and that procedure vote ended up getting the threshold of 60 votes needed, meaning every Republican as well as a handful of Democratic senators, which I think they only needed 7, and they ended up getting 10. And because of that, they are now basically handing over the congressional budget to Donald Trump. They're basically emboldening him. Like if you're supposed to be like the resistance party, or at the very least the oppositional party, and if you're saying that what Trump and Doge and Elon Musk are doing are just horrible, like all these horrible things, yet and not to mention using those facts, using that rhetoric, using that narrative, like this is really bad, we need to stop them, to whip up votes in the House and the Senate against the procedural votes, and then at the very last minute say, "I'm going to vote for it. I'm going to vote for the vote in this procedure, so that way the continuing resolution only needs a simple majority. The continuing resolution that will keep continue to fund Trump and all it basically like is a green light to all the shit that he's been doing since he was inaugurated. Why the fuck are you part of the Democratic Party?
Yeah.
What are you fucking doing there, Chuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a betrayal. It
It is.
is like there's no other way to put it, and because of that, like AOC was approached, like you gotta primary Chuck Schumer. You
Yeah.
have to take its place. Like
Yeah,
she
but
was
his
approached
term
about
isn't up
everything
for like another few
for the
years, I
four
don't think,
years.
right?
Yeah. So like he needs which is why the title of my stream today: resign immediately, Schumer.
Yeah.
Like I had to fit something that's biting in there because like what he did was just like bend over to the Republican Party and spread his
Yeah.
fucking ass cheeks wide open.
Yeah.
That's what the
Yep.
fuck happened. It's beyond frustrating. So it's like it 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 hampens. I guess is that the word hampers the ability for the Democratic Party to fundraise, to campaign in general. Because it's like, why would anyone want to be associated with that?
Yeah.
Even when you lose Hakeem Jeffries, and he comes out in full like disagreement with this. I think even Pelosi as well. Everybody except for like maybe maybe a dozen Democrats in total in both the House and Senate came out and was like, "No, this is horrible." Lots of them made statements that they don't usually uh, they came out to
Yeah.
make statements, and they don't usually come out to make statements. But what fucking Chuck Schumer did was so reprehensible and such a backstab,
Hmm.
a complete 180, like out of nowhere, just to give a favor to Trump. Like
Yeah.
what in the fuck are you doing? Why is this fucking guy in power?
Because he
It's
was worried that the government was going to shut down and that Democrats were going to get blamed for it being shut down. It's like,
of
no,
course,
dude, they're not in the party in power. Now is the
yeah,
time to do this move
no
because
kidding,
everyone's going to blame the Republicans if the government shuts down. We need to go through
exactly.
pain. We need
Hmm.
to go through pain and give them something to blame them for. Blame works.
Yeah,
Like blame works in American politics. And
yeah.
that's why it's the inverse of the incumbency advantage now is what we're living through. So,
Yeah,
um,
people like
yeah,
Chuck
this,
Schumer are just spineless fucking cowards. Like more than likely, he got a
yes,
call from some business and corporate
yeah.
insider saying like a shutdown would hurt the economy more than it already is, and it's already looking really bad. You need to prevent a shutdown, and more than likely, that's what fucking happened. Maybe he talked to Trump as well. People around Trump like this needs to go through, or else it's going to get really bad. It's just like we fucking knew that going in. We did like the days leading up to the vote and the day of the vote. But at the last minute, after whipping up votes to not vote for the procedural vote to make the continuing resolution pass with a simple majority, he fucking flips. It, it's 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 fucking absurd. It's abhorrent. Like what the fuck are you doing?
So here's the question: is it incompetence? Is it weakness? Is it just
It's
straight up
weakness.
cowardice?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just straight up
weakness.
cowardice. Yeah, like it's ultimately doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You serve capital. If you know like capital is going to be affected, you're going to be affected because like if you're like the Senate minority leader, especially, you're in fucking jeopardy. But like it doesn't even matter at this point because like he is going to be primaried. Like his career is in jeopardy in
I
2028.
think it's over. I think it's
Yeah,
just. I think he's done. He's such a sniveling little
yeah,
loser. Like
he is seriously.
we will win. We will win. Like yeah, dude. People are gonna go to war with you. You
Yeah,
idiot.
he doesn't even
Fucking
believe the shit.
pussy.
Yeah, he doesn't even believe anything that he's fucking saying. It's beyond pathetic.
Well, you got to think about the campaign financing
Of
aspect
course.
of this if you want to understand Schumer, because
Hmm.
remember, capital is smart, so they're going to do the arithmetic. Like I know some people who worked in Wall Street and saw Schumer like walking around their office and stuff every now and then, hedge funds and such.
Yeah.
They know that Republicans aren't going to win in New York. So they
Yes.
give money to Democrats to have influence over them. Like
Exactly.
remember, capital is not stupid. Capital is smart.
Yeah.
So they're playing the game, man, and they've played it well. Like they've played both sides,
Yes.
and they have really just facilitated the economic rape of this nation, which is what we're
Exactly.
seeing take place before our eyes. And I liken what we're going through right now to a alcoholic or a drug addict hitting rock bottom, like again. Like it's a
Right.
relapse. It's a relapse. And our addiction
Exactly.
is conservative capitalism. That's what
Yep.
our addiction is. And it's just shameless greed. It's just shameless fucking greed, what's going on and what's motivating everything. And it's going to take a revolution to get us out of here. And it's been frustrating on Blue Sky running into people and who are still just naive that we're at war.
Right.
Like they're just kidding themselves. Like this is a war. We are in the midst of America's third great civil conflict. The first was the Civil War, the second was civil rights, and now this.
Yeah.
MAGA's war on government. That's what we should start calling it. Is
Yeah.
MAGA's war on government because that's what it is. It's a war on government.
Right. Yeah. And then like the seeds need to be planted. The rhetoric needs to be there that like, well, government's not as bad of a thing as you've been led to believe, at the very least, because it's like we like so many things rely on government to be
Yes.
efficient, to actually function and be a resilient system. Like you can't. I mean, why exactly is government bad? Because like they tax you, because they use your tax money to commit atrocities, or what exactly is it? Like you at least, because it's like we talked about before. It's like if you want to privatize things a whole lot more, where exactly is the evidence that the industries being privatized are more, not only cheaper but more reliable and like always there than if it was just like actually public. And there's really not much that you can actually point to. Like,
No.
of course, like there's the USPS that's been being phased out over time, but it's like their funding is key to that. And so it's like you're manufacturing the dysfunction of government to suit a narrative that you've been regurgitating
Yes, they've been
since the days of
indoctrinated.
Reagan. Yeah.
They've been indoctrinated with the whole country's been indoctrinated with this idea that government is the problem because who doesn't hate the DMV? Who doesn't hate taxes? Who doesn't
Right.
hate the state and who doesn't have a negative experience from which they can draw a negative opinion
Of
about
course.
government? Of course, like it's not fun to deal with the government every time, but the
Yeah.
angle that I take with conservatives is like, who do you think's coming to get you in the event of a natural disaster? It's like
Yeah.
you hate on government, but you love the
Hmm.
military, which is not coincidentally the most well-financed part of our government.
Hmm.
And then you hate on government, but then you expect them to save your ass when a tornado or a hurricane comes. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like
Like
get
you.
get old, like grow up.
Yeah, yeah, like you have no issue taking FEMA money, like when your place gets hit by be it a tornado or a hurricane or whatever, and you also don't exactly have too much of a problem if the thin blue line is being funded as well. It's like those are the state thugs that, that like are like there's too many instances of police department like corruption.
Oh, so much.
Like yeah, it's fucking
And
abundant.
they can never get it. They never have enough money. They always go to the budget
No, of
committees
course.
looking for money. And you know what LA did? They took money out of Karen Bass is guilty as sin. She took money out of the fire department and put it into the police department.
Yeah,
And it's like, you
yeah,
idiot.
right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, even so, it was a significant enough amount to be like, well, I mean, look like, hello, that's the issue right there. Like, don't it wasn't to like enrich themselves or anything like that. It was literally allocating funds, like the defund the police movement. was actually about defund the police. It was about like reallocating funds so that way these militarized police departments that are just rife with corruption aren't incentivized to maintain that corruption and behave the way that they do. Like they think they can get away with it because they have the money to get away with it. They have the
Right.
money to get away with the lawsuits that come their way in particular. So it's like the right wants corruption and bureaucracy in the government to be just done away with, like the deep state and whatnot. But it's like the people within the government that you support the most, like the police departments and the military and whatnot, there's there's like probably more corruption in those in those agencies eh,
Yeah.
generally than most other parts of the government. It's
Yeah.
it's like I'm not exactly sure how they
Look,
reconcile with that for sure.
defense contracting is so corrupt. Like
No, for real.
defense contracting is so ridiculous.
Hmm.
Um, and just government work in general. I mean, look at Elon. Like that's who the
Yeah,
government gets in bed with. Like
no
Jesus
kidding.
Christ, who else are we dealing with?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no,
so
exactly.
yeah, no, I mean, capital rules all, and it's going to be a while before, um, we get some real people in positions of power that can actually undo this damage
Yeah,
and repair things because it takes a lot more effort to build something than it does to tear it down.
right.
And that's what sucks is that what we're going through right now and what we went through with Trump the first time, it's going to take a generation or two to rebuild.
Yeah,
And
I think after what Chuck Schumer did, there was I think like someone on MSNBC or something like that that literally came out and said this was the last straw for me. I am denouncing my Democratic Party membership and I am becoming independent. Because like so many people far and wide, even the very establishment like elitists themselves were vehemently opposed to what Chuck Schumer did. Like this was our only fucking leverage that we had and you fucking blew it because you're too scared of a fucking government shutdown. It's just like yeah, but like you understood how bad it would be going in. Like they are so poor at messaging, and I think he probably knew that because the Democrats are just absolutely fucking awful at it. There's no cohesion, there's no fight within them whatsoever. So it's like he'd just be caught like a deer in the headlights if the government was allowed to shut down. So
right.
like but it was like in the end, like it was the only fucking leverage that we had. It's like if your rhetoric reigns true that what Doge is doing, what Elon Musk is doing, what Trump is doing is just abysmal, which it fucking is, and it's harming a whole lot of Americans, which it is. You can put that all on them, and like you would sweep the midterms, but no. No, you're just emboldening them, and like you're just really you're not just ruining your own chances at reelection, you just ruined the chances of countless other Democrats during the midterms as well because of this fucking failure.
Yeah.
It's so fucking frustrating, dude.
Yeah. I mean, now is the time to be planting the seeds for the pendulum to swing back left hard. And,
Hmm.
Jeffries and Schumer, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? You're supposed to talk shit. You're
Yeah.
supposed to say, I want every American to pay attention to what is happening now
Hmm.
because this should be the death of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is an instrument of evil. There is nothing good that comes from conservative culture, values, or politics. MAGA is not just a verdict on the alt right, it's a
Yeah.
verdict on the entire right.
Yeah.
There is nothing good about being predisposed to resist change within a world that is defined by change.
Yeah.
So the message needs to be a unilateral fuck you to conservative America. And
Right.
I'm not going to appeal to their narcissism. Oh, you ready? You okay? Did Trump hurt you? Did Daddy hurt you? It's like, yeah, no. An adult reaction is, yeah, you ready to listen? You ready to learn? You ready to do better? because we
Yeah.
tried to tell you. I mean, this is the
For
time.
real.
This actually is the time to say, yeah, we told you so.
Right.
We told you so. We told you this would be a disaster. We told you
Yeah.
that Project 2025 was real. And what'd you do? You took Trump at his word, even though
Yep.
he's the biggest liar to ever be president.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I saw a couple stories recently about one of the architects of Project 2025 and some sort of statement that he gave, basically saying like, we this is beyond our wildest dreams how quickly Trump is achieving Project 2025 and
Yeah,
everything laid out in it. Just like, wow, I thought that Trump, the guy who says he didn't know anything about it, that wasn't even associated with it at all. It turns
hmm,
out it doesn't even need to be associated with it to actually do everything that's laid out in Project
right.
2025.
Yeah,
Just making haste and like it. I mean, ultimately, it's Trump. He's just gonna fucking go along to get along and surrounds himself with people who actually do believe and understand it more than he
and do the
does.
work
So
and do the
yeah,
real work. Like he's just there, but
yeah,
it's the people
e-
that he
e-
appoints and the GOP establishment that he empowers that actually makes the rules and changes the laws and cuts the funding and shit.
bingo. Because like he doesn't actually know what it is. He hasn't actually read it. He
No, he
doesn't
doesn't. He's
actually
not a
like
lawyer. He's not a constitutional
yeah.
lawyer. Like he doesn't know any of this.
He doesn't even like write his own executive orders either. He's just like
No.
as they come along, he just fucking signs them, and like if they sound good to him, it's like then he just like makes a big gesture of it in front of the cameras and line and plays it up and gives it a signature.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a bright guy, and that's another test of someone's intelligence is if they think Trump is a smart guy, and it's like, no, no. He's got some social skills and knows how to work a camera and whatever, but no,
He's
this
great at
guy is not.
marketing. That's
Yeah, he's
how it's been his
he's
entire
self
life.
not even marketing. It's just self promotion.
Yes. Yeah.
She's just a really great self promoter.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
easy to be a good self promoter when you inherit 400 some odd $1 million when you're 7 years old or whatever. That his
Bingo.
dad used him to hide his money.
Hi, Megan.
Ridiculous.
In line with his previous policies, obviously, he doesn't need to know it to match up with it to an extent. That's true. Yeah, just like we were saying, like he doesn't need to know like much about it for it to like. Hey, Tracy, good to see you. Um, he doesn't really even need to know much about it to like actually agree with it because all of like the overwhelming majority of it is written to align a lot with his first term to begin with, and
Right.
all the rhetoric that he's laid out like at his rallies or his like public statements or videos or whatever for years and years now. So it's just like obviously like he's going to like be like ideologically aligned with it as more and more of it gets um, put into law, or at least signed into law via executive order at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think too. Well, Chuck Schumer's a huge pussy, and
Yep,
Gavin Newsom is also a huge pussy, which is
for real.
surprising to see. That Gavin Newsom, who looks like a quintessential alpha male athlete,
Sure.
competitive guy, whatever. He's got that ethos of being a
Hmm.
man's man, but turns
Yeah.
out he's just another douchebag trying to act as if he's smart. And my favorite part about the Charlie Kirk interview was when he and Kirk were getting competitive about who took school less seriously. And apparently,
Right.
Newsom was like, I was in community college, and then a baseball coach called me up from Santa Clara and said, I want you to come play baseball at Santa Clara, which I've heard is bullshit, by the way. I heard he
R-
didn't even play baseball at
oh,
Santa Clara.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Kirk was like, yeah, I dropped out. I think he dropped out of what's that one in New York on Long Island? Hofstra.
Hmm.
And anyway, it's just like, wow, like Gavin, if you had taken your education more seriously, maybe you would have studied this guy FDR, who completely redefined the relationship between government and citizen for the
Yeah.
better, and completely
Yeah.
transformed this country and set it up for post World War II success. Remember
Hmm.
that? And
Yeah.
coming up on 100 years ago from the Depression, we're not too far away from 100 years since the
Right.
Great Depression.
Yeah. Odds are we're
America
about to
has the
enter
same
another
UK.
one.
What'd you
Go.
say?
Oh, I said odds are we're about to enter another
Go through
one.
another one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What did Tracy say?
Oh, she just said I'm knackered, as we say in the UK. I'll watch on catch up tomorrow. She probably just
For
means
sure.
she's tired and wants to go to bed or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
yeah, she's on the
It's like the middle of the night
management
there, I
team.
think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
it's it's so it's just it's frustrating more than anything because it's like, sure, Steve Bannon of all people does have a whole lot of interesting things to say, but he is,
the enemy.
yeah, he's a fucking neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
He believes in white supremacy. It's like, if you like fucking pin him down on it, he's like, oh no, I think all races of people should have their own
Bullshit.
uh nations, and live separately, and like be successful in
Right.
their own ways. It's just like,
Separate but equal. Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. So it's like white supremacy with extra steps. It's just like, whatever, dude. Like, sure, he does say enough interesting things to where like you could actually have a really solid, decent conversation with him. Um, but like the other guy, Michael Savage, the guy's a fucking nutcase. Like he had him on as well. And he's just he said all sorts of grotesque things. God, I wish I had the list here. I think I like posted about it somewhere, but um, yeah, just your standard typical far right fucking bigot, like a giant racist and a fucking anti LGBTQ fucking typical shit. What I'm really interested about, what I'm really interested in is hearing what him and Tim Walz talk about,
Right.
because I want to see what kind of attitude he takes towards Tim Walz, because I think Tim Walz excuse me, is gunning for a
President.
for president. Yeah, eventually run for president. I think he saw, excuse me, the momentum that he gained by campaigning with Kamala Harris, and is thinking that he can probably weaponize that, maybe even weaponize Bernie's movement as well. But he's probably doing a balancing act right now. And he's not going to go like completely all for it just yet, but he does see that like Bernie and AOC are doing a tour of the country right now, playing speaking at overflow crowds and everything. Um, and I don't know to what extent aligning himself with Bernie and AOC would do, but he is getting out there. He's doing the interviews. He's
Mhm.
talking on shows and going and basically saying exactly what he was saying at the beginning of the Kamala Harris campaign. These progressive ideas that we believe in, and I really
Well, I
hope
mean,
he's able to take it far.
he's 60 years old now.
I say, I mean, we do need young blood, fresh blood, but if he is ideologically aligned with the progressive left and he is willing to fight and champion those ideas, I say fucking go for it. Honestly, like,
Hmm.
not to mention when the left in general, not to mention Democrats, are just so devoid of fighters or messengers in general. We need really like all the help we can get, and like Tim Walz is like a perfect guy to like just have up there and just preach basically.
Right.
I think Chris Murphy is another guy as well. I think he was on the Daily Show. I haven't watched it yet. He was
Chris
a
Murphy.
guest.
Yeah, he was on Meet the Press this weekend, and
Oh
it was
yeah,
pretty disappointing because
oh yeah.
he wouldn't go after Chuck Schumer explicitly.
Mm,
He said he supports Chuck Schumer as the head of the party, and it's like, dude,
why?
now is the
No,
time, man. Now is the
no.
time.
How
We don't
can
need party
after what?
unity. I mean, talk about addiction. Like the Democratic Party needs to go through its withdrawal phase
Dude,
and get off of the addiction of bipartisanship, because bipartisanship produces problems.
no kidding. Like, why? Like, how can you sit there with a straight face after what Chuck Schumer did in front of the party, in front of the nation, just embarrassing himself like that? How can you sit there and say, I stand behind that. I don't condemn that. Like, where's the condemnation at the very
Right.
fucking least? Like, the most we got was AOC saying like this was a mistake. Like obviously, yes, it was a huge fucking mistake. Bernie Sanders saying like, uh, the Democratic Party needs big change. It's just like yes, but like there needs to be fucking more people saying that. Like they're stating the obvious, but it's like the bare minimum. Like, God
Yeah.
damn it, dude.
Yeah. Well, someone said, I can't remember who, but someone said, when this is all over in 2028, the American public's going to expect Medicare for all or something better. It's going to expect
I
universal
think it was
health
Tim
care.
Walz that said that. If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, I think Tim Walz actually said that. If I'm not
Sounds
mistaken.
right. Yeah, someone needs to get up and
Yeah,
bang the drums. Like, I'm sick of shelling out my money
yeah,
for private health insurance, and I need
right,
to for whatever reasons. But I mean, people are just so sick of it. And it's
right,
like I would love to have UBI too, universal basic income, but if you do that now, all you're doing is giving money to the landlords. You're not taking care of the root
right.
problem.
Exactly.
And that's why we need to start talking about problems and solutions. And people hear policy, they don't understand that those are solution proposals, guys. Those are ways to try to make America better. And, your addiction to this indoctrination of government is the problem has got to go. It's got to go. And that's
Right.
what I hope people on the left understand. And that's what I'm worried about is like, are we going to come out of this and still think 5 years from now that the Republican Party has some good to offer? Because someone needs to step up and
Right.
say, this is who they are. This
Yeah.
is who they are. This is not just Trump. Trump has exposed the deep, dark underbelly of conservatism. And
Yeah.
now we need to see it for what it is. And it is evil.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It's fucking evil.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it goes back to my view of the Democratic Party as an institution, as an apparatus, as a tool. I guess most accurately, and that is to weaponize it with pro left rhetoric as an alternative to the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is the only entity powerful enough to like actually challenge the Democratic Party. It's a pendulum. It goes back and forth and back and forth. Um, it's one thing to think that like we need a new party, and because the Democrats are just too weak, they capitulate. They're basically Republican light. They side
Yeah.
with them more often than not. It's another thing to get everybody out of there and rebuild it from the ground up. But I just hate the fact that it's going to take way longer than it should, given the damage that's happening in this country right now. Tracy, just shared your channel on Blue Sky and Twitter. Same with Dieter's channel. Really, really, really appreciate that, Tracy. Thank you
Yes.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna push hard enough. The turn
Hmm.
of phrase that I'm looking for is a generational condemnation of the entire baby boomer generation and their
Hmm.
politicians. Really, they're politicians, but you know, baby boomer conservatism has been exposed as sociopathic greed. That's
Hmm.
all it is. And
Yeah.
baby boomer neoliberalism has been exposed as naive centrism and
Yeah.
thinking that the free market can honestly provide for everybody, that the free market is going to create an equal opportunity society. And that's just not true. That is
Right.
not true.
Yeah.
It will not. It will not. Then we've got 45 years worth of data to back it up. That's the beautiful thing for our generation is like the argument's been made. We've been around here. We've been trying this song and dance for 45 years and it hasn't worked. Baby boomer liberals, you've been in charge for 32 years and look at what you've gotten done for the
Yeah.
American public. Like, I remember Obama talking about like what Democrats should be speaking about. And he's like, talk about what you guys have done for
Yeah.
the American people. It's like, no, no, no. Talk about what you're going to do. Talk about universal health care and student loan debt relief and clearing out medical debt. I mean,
Right.
yeah, you
Yeah.
notice a
Like,
theme there?
no, of course. It's like, y- why champion things you've done? I mean, the Republican Party doesn't do that. They don't
Right.
like. Of course, they stroke Trump off the whole time, and they fondle his nuts, but like they don't actually talk about like what them as a party have achieved. The Democrats tend to do that like far, far, far more often. Why don't you offer something voters can look forward to? Give them a
Hmm.
reason like to vote for you because you're going to implement something that's popular that hasn't actually been implemented yet. And there's shit that's fucking been lingering for years and years and years that has yet to be implemented that you could champion, that you could offer to the voting public. Like how do they not fucking understand this? Like
Well, they
even
don't
if
want
you have
big
to
change.
yeah, even if you have to bullshit, even if you have to like exaggerate a little bit, fucking Republicans do that fucking consistently,
Yeah,
endlessly.
yeah,
Like for crying out loud, like, if you're going to like attack them, like and still maintain a modicum of your capitalist uh
ideology.
association,
Hmm.
yeah, uh, go after them for trickle down economics, like
Yeah,
because each and every time uh policies that are trickle down are passed in some form or another the past several decades, it just leads to the rich hoarding more and more of their wealth, more and more for them, and the poor become poorer over time. And what happens? Like the rich store taxes away or what could be taxed in offshore tax
yes,
havens and whatnot. So like those taxes don't get paid. They'll get circulated back into the economy. They don't go into the social programs that are very, very popular that are paid for with taxes by the American taxpayer. And so more and more of these programs fail. And lo and behold, you get boom bust cycles and you get economic turmoil because uh, we there's a lot of this fucking money that is just not being circulated through the American
right,
economy. It's being stowed away at some
right,
offshore tax haven by these fucking billionaires. Like
right.
it's such a simple fucking thing, yet like we we don't dare go after the billionaires for anything, especially when it comes to passing policy that actually like twists their arm to actually fucking uh, do what the majority of people actually want them to do, and that's to pay their fucking taxes, not fucking store it in some tax haven or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, well, remember though, the money doesn't get taxed until it moves. So
Right.
you can invest in stocks, for example. And by the way, the
Hmm.
top 10% of households in the US own 93% of the stock. So if
Hmm.
you had 100 people, 10 and then you had 100 shares out there, then
Hmm.
those 10 people would own 93 shares and there would be 7 left for the remaining 90 people. The bottom
Crazy.
50%, the bottom 50% of America owns 2.5% of wealth. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
2.5% in the bottom 50%. I mean, it's a joke. Like,
Yeah.
how can you say this system works when it clearly doesn't?
No.
And it's annoying to go on the Gen Z Speaks podcast, and I like those guys, but Matt really is like caught up in this. He's like, I feel for them talking about entrepreneurial billionaires. I'm like, what? Like, dude,
Why?
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And I
Yeah.
think it's because he's been programmed to think that if he works hard enough, he could eventually become a billionaire too.
No, yeah, that's unfortunately like how way too many people think, especially if they follow like libertarian circles, for example, and they focus a bit too heavily on that kind of lifestyle. Oh, if you just grind hard enough,
Right.
you'll become a fucking millionaire or whatever the fuck. You just invest just right. You play your cards just right, you'll become the next fucking entrepreneur, and it just does not work that way at all.
No, not at
Like
all.
they go to great lengths and exert a lot of their energy defending billionaires because it aligns with like what they believe. And it's just like, well, maybe if I defend billionaires enough and I fight for their right to hoard infinite money, fucking excuse me, sorry, and fight against good policies that would lift poor people out of poverty, because of the policies that are passed that like ultimately make the rich richer and the poor poorer. It's like, then maybe one day I'll be rich myself. It's just like it just does not fucking
You're
work like
kidding
that. They're
yourself.
like, yeah,
It's brainwashing. It's
they're way too.
capitalism. It's capitalism brainwashing in culture. Like
Yeah,
the American dream used to be a multi-millionaire, and now the American dream is to be a billionaire, which means it's the American fucking delusion. It's
yes,
a
the
delusion.
American delusion.
It's a false promise. Yeah, it's a good title for a video. The
Yeah.
American delusion.
Yes,
Um,
big time. It's like you're there are way too many there are way more losers in capitalism than winners. Period. People who like lose everything because they just don't invest it right, or they don't know how to play the market, or they just don't fucking make enough to even get to that point. It's just like, and they end up just pissing all their money away because they don't know what they're doing, or they're getting screwed over by the bigger guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a rude awakening, but that's the turn that I'm looking for. Is someone going to call out the baby boomer generation, or at least their politicians, because this all started with them.
Right.
This is not an accident. This is the devolution of Reaganism into Trumpism, right? Trump is not Reagan. Trump is Reagan on cocaine, right?
Yeah.
Like we've got there's a difference between public memory and history. And according to public memory, Reagan was a great president. According to public memory, Clinton was a good president. According to history, neither of them were good presidents.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book on Clinton now so I can destroy him when the time comes, because he's got to go. Like
Of
his
course.
memory of like being a good president and, modernizing the Democratic Party or whatever,
Hmm.
bullshit. He
Yeah,
castrated the Democratic Party. He
big
took
time.
the balls out of the Democratic Party. I mean, telecom, repealing Glass-Steagall, crime bill, welfare, NAFTA, like all of these things tore down what FDR had built up. The
Yeah,
Telecom Act goes all the way back to FDR. So does Glass-Steagall. Like, what are you thinking, Bill? What are
yeah.
you thinking, dude? And he was
No
just like,
shit.
oh, well, it'll create economic growth and I'll get reelected.
Right. I mean, because that's all they fucking worry about. It's just it's these self-serving politicians, man. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what side of the aisle, as long as they come from a wealthy background and establish a foundation, so that way, like they can just funnel more money to themselves. Like do more people more favors, so long as you donate money to me. Like they'll fucking do whatever. Oh, this particular act, this particular law is heeding your ability to grow more infinitely. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll root against that. I'll get Congress to, you know, take that whole thing apart.
Right.
Yeah, it absolutely fucking disgusting how it works. It's like no one is immune from corruption, not
Yeah.
even remotely.
I'm gonna write down that dichotomy so I don't forget it.
Which one?
History versus public memory.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I took a class in college called public memory, and we did four things. We did Lincoln. We did Lincoln. We did Gettysburg. We
Hmm.
did lynching,
Yeah.
and then which should be taught in public schools, by the way. And then we
Hmm.
did the AIDS quilt, which should also be taught in public schools. Like I don't know why we don't include
Right.
these things in our history, so people know the significance of them. But
Right. Yeah. Like
like good
no, that would be a great either dichotomy, like public, like
memory versus history.
history. Yep. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, because the way people remember historical figures is very different than what their actual deeds were. Like,
Bingo.
you can campaign and have all the popularity numbers you want. Your policy is what your legacy is if you're a politician.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what's your
It's
legacy, Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton's legacy is fucking people over that got him there. That's what his That's what I'm finding out in this book is that he stepped on anybody that he could after he got into the White House. Like if he had to step on you to get a piece of legislation passed or to get a donor to give him more money, he was going to do it. Everybody
Jeez.
says that about the Clintons. He said, "Do not do business with the Clintons. You're going to get fucked. You're going to get fucked."
That sounds about
It's,
fucking right.
yeah. Well, he came out of the White House $6 million in debt. So, I mean, it makes sense that he would start up his own. But there you go.
Mm.
First baby boomer president ever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it all really started. Because, he could have, he could, I mean, he didn't come in. The problem is he didn't come in with a whole lot of congressional power. He won the presidency in a plurality, and he didn't have a majority in either house. So
Right.
he
Right.
had to play ball with Republicans in order to get things passed.
Right.
And
Which
so
were
you
not good
kid,
things. Yeah. Of
right?
course. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. It's Yeah. Whenever you bring up the name Clinton, it's not really exactly a name that has a good legacy, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. Just because like the Clinton Foundation and the corruption and like
Yeah,
just if you do any little bit of digging, like even me and Megan did a little back and forth about just how fucking crooked the Clinton Foundation is and what they were involved in uh, Hillary Clinton's history and whatnot, and just how a lot of it was just being exposed at the perfect time during the 2016 election and whatnot. Just disgusting people without a fucking doubt.
yeah. I mean, we gotta kick him to the curb. It's time. Like we gotta move on. And Obama, like too. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
are we gonna really kid ourselves here? The guy had more political power than the Democratic Party had seen since the '60s.
yeah,
And what did he do? He delivered incrementalism. He could have given us national health care. He could
for
have
real.
given us universal health care. And now that would be a legacy. That would be a legacy. Instead, he's like, oh, he's a likable guy. He brought dignity back to the Oval Office after and intelligence back to the Oval Office after W had just absolutely soiled himself as president in his second term.
Right.
But it boggles my mind how little research like the white trash ignorance is on the right is very explicit. It's very
Hmm.
easy to see coming, but
Yes.
the ignorance on the left is pretty bad too.
Hmm.
And it's not as bad because they still believe in fundamental things like government is good and you need government and those fundamental things.
Yeah.
But in terms of knowing their history, a lot of liberals are still hanging on to Clinton and still hanging on to Biden and still hanging on to Obama. And I'm like, no, you got to let them go. You got to let them
Yeah.
go. They were wrong. They didn't deliver.
Yeah. The ignorance doesn't show right away, but especially among liberals, it's just like you need to know your history. Like you need
Yeah.
to understand that like these aren't exactly good figures that the Democratic Party has put up to be president. You need to get over your idolizing of them and understand we need to do so much better than this. And it goes back to the history versus public perception thing. Um, yeah, I mean, a perfect fucking example is like the public memory of George Washington is that he had teeth made of wood. You know, that was like a myth, a long-standing myth, but like the actual historical reality is his teeth were made out of the teeth of dead slaves. Like
Is
that's
that
the
right?
actual history. Yeah. So like, but of course, I mean, with any president, you gotta like mythologize a little bit
Right.
to cover the fucking harsh and brutal reality.
Yeah, you know what George Washington's personality was?
Hmm.
Like, you know what? He was pissed off all the time. He was a tea kettle. Like
Yeah.
he was very mysterious. He was a very mysterious historical figure. Like he had some memoirs that like got burned. His wife burned them to protect his privacy or something.
Really.
A bunch of letters to his wife, so she burned them before, after he died, so that no one knew what to protect his privacy or whatnot.
Wow.
But there's a lot of accounts of him just being pissed off. Like he was a soldier. He was a soldier
Yeah,
and
he's like the general. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he didn't really want to deal with the deliberation. He just wanted to solve problems and get the country
Right.
started, you know?
Yeah.
So, but he's an important historical figure. Like, he
Hmm.
definitely established a lot of good norms for the White House. But it is funny that when you actually analyze his personality, like a lot of good soldiers, he was pissed off. He was a tea kettle, man. He would blow up and, you know, get excited and piss people off. Um,
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of like another guy like Teddy Roosevelt. Like Teddy Roosevelt wailed and wailed and wailed, and he was pissed off all the time. And he embodied that ire, that public anger that I
Hmm.
think there's a hunger for now on the left. It's like, okay, we tried the politics of joy and it didn't work. We tried the Mr. Nice liberal with Obama and we got Trump.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta try something different. There is a hunger on the left for something different. So we'll see if we can't give it to him.
Bingo. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. I'm really curious about that now. The George Washington letters, because something like that, if they were actually, I guess, preserved, they could have been made copies out of if they had just waited a little bit longer. Because I think it was Thomas Jefferson that made the use out of the first like, copying press, and he remarked how it was like one of the greatest inventions ever because they were able to literally copy documents like as many documents as needed. Like the first copying press was during his presidency, I believe, and yeah, it could have it could have gone a long way. It's crazy how history plays out.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, people they start to think about their legacy, and others
Yeah,
start to think about that public memory versus history thing. That
right.
dichotomy. And go ahead.
I mean, to get conspiratorial, I mean, it might have been that like in direct communication via the letters uh, between him and his wife, it probably wouldn't have painted him as a very charming person, perhaps, or you know, it probably would have revealed things that would have been like just a gigantic stain on his legacy.
Yeah, he
Um,
probably hated certain people. He probably like hated
mhm.
Alexander Hamilton and shit like that. I mean, my understanding is that every president leaves office if they don't die in office.
Hmm.
Every president leaves office thinking, "Man, I wish I could have done more."
Yeah,
That's what every president. I'm sure Washington was no different in that respect. Like, I wish I could have done more, but he didn't
right,
live very long after he was no longer president. I don't think he
right.
would.
They all.
He never even saw the Capitol. He never even saw Washington.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
I didn't even know that. I do know that a lot of them back in that day didn't really even live that long to begin with, but um, crazy, crazy. Uh, like even back in that day, um, I was actually watching this podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, Deep Fat Fried, some time ago, like maybe a couple years ago. Comparison, I guess, like it might have just been just like a president versus president thing, and they spun the wheel. It ended up being Trump versus George Washington, like not any joke. And one of the categories was comparing speaking skills, and reading George Washington's letters was like Shakespearean levels of brilliance, like his
Right.
vocabulary, his statements and sentences and whatnot. And comparison to Trump, who like reads at like a fourth grade level, fifth grade
Yeah.
level, or something like that. Just incredibly hilarious. Like we used to be a real country,
Yeah, and have, like, educated and
literate
exceptional people
presidents. Yeah.
that actually cared about their legacy. I mean, that's one
Yes.
thing that one thing that happens to you psychologically if you're educated in a certain way and come from a privileged upbringing is that you feel a sense of obligation to make the world more fair. Not necessarily equal, but just more fair. Because if you come
Right.
from privilege and you do your homework, you realize that you're pretty damn lucky to come from privilege. And then you do your history some more and you realize, wow, if you come from privilege, you got a better chance of acquiring political power and
Hmm.
actually doing some good.
Yeah.
And that used to be the spirit of American privilege, was service, was public service. And that has been lost. Now it's just shameless greed. Now it's like
Right.
I'm going to be a politician so that I can make a name for myself and be famous and have a successful podcast and be a contributor on MSNBC. It's not because I actually want to make a difference. I
Right.
mean, if I run for office, it's just going to be because I want to punch some MAGA trash in the face and tell them to shut up. Like that's what and get out of the room. We talked about, there's a saying in business, if you want to get a deal done, get the lawyers out of the room. Well, in politics, if you want to get good policy passed, then get the conservatives out of the room. That's the new MO. Like
Yeah.
that needs to be the new
Exactly.
message. Like we are boycotting conservatism for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not going to stop. We're not going to, like, it's like, I tell people, I said, do you respect a child when they're throwing a temper tantrum?
Right.
And everybody I always ask that to, the instant response is no, of course not. It's like,
Yeah.
well, then why are you respecting MAGA? Because that's intellectually and emotionally, that's what they are.
Yeah, it's interesting. You point out, like, yeah, maybe 40 years from now, conservatives can have their say again. And like the thing about that is, like, it's because we desperately need to pull the Overton window way back to the left, because
Yes.
like the more it's pulled to the left, that's where the acceptable political dialogue for the nation is where it's
Hmm.
positioned, and it's just almost falling off a cliff to the right now. We're going more and more and more to the right. More and more things are being normalized through Trump's rhetoric and what the Republican Party believes, and we can see it clearly plain as day. Not enough is being challenged. The kind of antics and behavior of the Trump administration, of Elon Musk, is becoming a lot more normalized. It's just like, no, like none of this is none of this is normal. It should not be normalized. And bringing it back to the left would definitely go a long way, to the point where, like, yeah, like go as far left as you want, to the point where in 40 years the progressives will be the new conservatives. Because like this is still what we believe. We want to keep it right here instead of going farther and farther to the left. But like,
Right.
uh, who
Hopefully
knows?
we
Like,
get
it's
there.
just a,
Hopefully we
yeah,
get there someday. But it's like
pipe dream.
even the conservatives in these Western and Northern European countries that are a lot happier than us, by the way.
Hmm.
Even the conservatives in these countries are for universal health care. Like
Yeah,
it's like certain rights, and that's why if I
it's like
do
a
run
no
for office,
deposition.
if I do run for office, then it'll be emphasizing FDR's second Bill of Rights, because right there you've
Yes.
got a template. I mean, that's the thing that's so impressive about FDR is like, the left has a Reagan in FDR. We have our Reagan. Imagine doing all that for the first time. Imagine
No kidding.
completely redefining the relationship between the federal government and the American citizen for the first
Yeah.
time. Like the balls that it
Hmm.
took say no, we're going to do something that's never been done before and completely overhaul this economy into something that makes sense and
Yes.
doesn't just favor power structures that already exist. We're going to
Yes.
destroy and overhaul and redo the flow of power throughout this country so that people can have, and basically all of his hard work. Like, you want to see the results of his labor. Look at the 50s. Like,
Yeah.
look, the 50s were because of FDR and what he did. And,
Yes.
there's actually an argument that there's not really much of an argument, but the New Deal didn't even go far enough. Like, we needed World War II to kind of boost the economy and distribute wages throughout the country.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, like the New Deal was, like the Green New Deal isn't the answer, is kind of where I'm going. And
Right.
it's got to be called the next deal, because there might become a time in 10 years, 20 years from now that we're going to need another deal, right? Like, get away from, we have to battle cultural assumptions. See, this is the culture war side of the equation for the left. And really, when we're talking about public memory, we're talking about culture.
Yes.
We're talking about the cultural. value of, who were we just talking about? Clinton and Reagan. Like
Hmm.
Reagan won the Cold War. Oh, Clinton, modernized the Democratic Party. Like, no, they both sucked. And
Yes.
we
Yeah.
have to learn our lessons here. We haven't had a good president. I mean, even Lyndon Johnson, right, was bad because of Vietnam.
Hmm.
So we haven't had like a good president since Jack Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he was,
Arguably, yeah.
yeah.
For real. Yeah. I completely agree with all of that. Honestly, the next deal is essential messaging. Honestly, you know, I just hope that we can get to a point to where the federal government as we know it isn't like just completely dismantled to the point of like disrepair, so that
Hmm.
way it can be emboldened, empowered again. um so that way these kind of ideas can become a reality, like the
Hmm.
second bill of rights, for example. It's going to take a lot more uh government resilience and structure and size and scope for a lot of it to even become a reality to begin with.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So we got Schumer, we got Gavin. And did you want to say anything about Israel Palestine? I mean, there's yeah. Here's what I'll say about it. Here we go. Like,
yeah,
what do we expect? It's
no,
like
of course,
this is who Israel is. This is who they are.
yeah,
This is who their government is, I should say. But their people have been brainwashed to support their government in spite of everything. There's a lot of people on the left who are still in denial about what Israel's doing,
yeah,
and
no kidding.
it's pretty obvious to me that like it's never going to end. And I
No.
remember, I think I've talked about it before. My earliest news memory is the fall of the Berlin Wall, but I used to watch the nightly news with Tom Brokaw at 6:30 every night right before dinner with my dad. And I started to pay attention to domestic electoral politics with Bill Clinton in 92. But even, I want to say, even before that, I can remember watching news stories on NBC Nightly News about Israel going to war with country X and Israel going to war with country Y.
Hmm.
And it's just like the same shit
Yeah.
over and over again, the common variable with all the strife in the Middle East. And I got issues with Saudi Arabia. I got
Hmm.
issues with Yemen. Like, I got issues with a lot of other countries in the Middle East. But I will say that in terms of war,
Hmm.
outright war, Israel seems to be the common variable, more consistent over the last 35 years than any other variable.
Yeah. Yeah. The shocker. It's it's just frustrating more than anything. There the amount of atrocities being committed, the amount of war crimes, it's just like there are literally like entire Wikipedia um pages upon pages, articles dedicated to the different refugee camps in Gaza, like because there's multiple, right? And just lists for each camp, an entire list of the multiple. I'm talking like dozen plus airstrikes that have targeted these refugee camps,
Mm-hmm.
and they list the number of civilians killed and everything. Like this the shit is detailed, like if even the particular refugee camps themselves have Wikipedia articles with sources detailing the amount of times that they have been struck by Israeli like airstrikes. It it's fucking like you can't get more brazen than that. Like they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's like they don't give a fuck that like these are like safe zones or that there are civilians there. Like and like every single time when fucking for every Hamas fighter killed, like a couple dozen civilians are killed or whatever. every single time the idea comes out, like it's not our intention to kill civilians, blah blah blah.
They don't give a
it's a
shit.
tragedy.
They
Yeah,
don't
they
give
don't
a
get
shit.
half a
They don't
fuck.
give a
Especially,
fuck. They don't give a
it's
fuck.
yeah, especially with all the fucking like video, uh, the abundance of video evidence out there of
Yeah.
the IDF
The
targeting
rest of the world's
civilians
watching
on
it.
purpose. Yeah,
The
yeah.
rest of the world is
Like
watching it.
sometimes the IDF themselves publish these
Right.
videos. Like, look at what we're
Right.
doing. We're just fucking getting away with fucking war crimes and targeting civilians for fun, men, women, and children. Fucking the of course, there's the international doctors that have gone into Gaza to treat children for sniper rifle wounds, shot by a fucking IDF sniper rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes fucking twice. That like instances of children with fucking like bullet damage in their skulls,
Right.
consistent with IDF sniper. It's fucking. You'd have to be in denial at this point to consider like what Israel is doing is at all justified. There's still a lot of people out there for sure. You'll still have those accounts on Twitter or wherever the fuck trying to like just downplay what they're doing or just ignore it. It's just like it's a night and day difference. But of course, like it, who knows if it's actually ever going to change? From what I do understand, the region, various Middle East countries are saying no. The United States and Trump, they're not going to have a say in resettling Gaza. We're going to take care of that. And, you know, I don't have an issue with that as long as like they understand, like, and they have emphasized this, it should be up to the Palestinians, number
Right.
one, to determine the future of Gaza. But it all comes back to the actions of Israel
Right.
because they want to wipe that fucking place clean because of fucking scripture from the Bible. They want
Yes.
to cleanse the land of undesirables, so that way the second coming of Jesus, therefore the rapture, therefore the apocalypse can begin. It's the Book of Revelation or whatever the
Well,
fuck.
that's New Testament.
Right? Yeah, I mean it's consistent with what the evangelical Christians believe. It's why a lot of them are like. It's why they're so
They're spiritual
um,
gangsters. They're
yeah,
spiritual gangsters.
that's why they're so beholden to Israel and so supportive of Israel, like no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
like they're
No, they think they're religious cousins. They think that the
mhm.
evangelicals think of themselves as spiritually allied with the nation of Israel.
Yeah, yeah,
They all
absolutely
do like
disgusting.
they do those evangelical trips and stuff. My mother went on one of them.
Yes, yes,
They go there and they go around Israel and oh, this is where Jesus put his hand when he was climbing. It's like
right. Yeah, I
you know,
think it might have been Vice, or I'm pretty sure it was Vice, but there was this evangelical lady who I think she might have been Jewish. I'm not exactly too sure, but she believed in a lot of the exact same things that these evangelicals believed. Went to Israel to not only take. I think she was there to like be given land by the Israeli government, and of course, this land, excuse me, would be seized from Palestinians. So basically, a settler. And the shit that she repeated is like, we believe that this land belongs to the Jews, who are God's chosen people, and the reporters asking her, well, what do you think about the Palestinians, the Arab Palestinians who have lived here for as long as you those days, and whatever. And she basically just straight up said, I don't care. This is like just didn't give half the shit. She thinks that like the uh, uh, the oppression wasn't happening to the extent that the reporter said it was, and also if it is, who cares? This isn't their land anyway because of the Bible, because
right.
something, you know. It's just disgusting, and like there are so many people who think exactly like this woman, where it's like if you base your conclusions on an ancient book, you're going to work backwards from that conclusions,
Yes.
even for those conclusions, even if it means justifying outright atrocities and war
Yes.
crimes and just the
Yes.
needless slaughter of innocent fucking people.
Well, more people have been killed in the name of God than for any other reason. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's like, there you go. That's what you need to know about theocracies, because that's
yeah.
what
Of
Israel
course,
is a fucking theocracy.
big time.
And
Yeah,
it's disgusting. And yeah, if I were president, I'd cut off weapon sales to them for 100 years and say, how you guys do on your own? Let's see how you do on your own.
exactly. Yeah,
Because the only reason that country exists is because of the United States. Like
yep,
they would not exist if we didn't have an umbilical cord from the U.S.
yeah,
government to Israel. Like, give me a fucking break.
yeah.
So yeah,
Not to
the
mention.
whole like indoctrination from the religious side is that, I was talking to some Zionists not too long ago,
Hmm.
and I said I just want it to be over. I'm sick of hearing about this. I'm sick of hearing about all the violence and the war. And they were like, "Well, we were raised to think that it's never going to end."
Oh
It's
yeah,
like, "Oh, cool. So your religious war is more important than global peace. Your religious indoctrination, your brainwashed uh, spiritual perspective that Islam is the enemy is more important than everybody getting along."
yeah,
And it's narcissism. It's
big time.
narcissism. That's what
Yeah, period.
like religion feeds on narcissism.
Yeah.
It's very like a little counterintuitive,
Hmm.
but yeah, that whole idea of like, oh, God loves me because I'm so special. It's like,
Hmm.
well, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not buddies with God.
No, of course.
Like, yeah, okay, I'd like to think that our Creator loves us, but look at what has been done in the name of religion. I mean, and cheers to the framers for not making this a Christian nation. Because
Yes.
they could have. They
Yes.
could have, and they decided not to. And we've talked about it before. Why didn't they? Because they were educated and
Yes.
they saw
Very much.
all
Very
of the
enlightened.
they saw the 300 years of religious wars that had defined Western Europe up until when they decided to found the country, and
Hmm.
they were like, why would we bring that here? Why
Bingo.
why would we bring that here? Look at the hundreds of years. They
Hmm.
knew. They were like, look at our ancestral homeland is defined by unnecessary religious conflict.
Yes.
And why would we bring that legacy to our new country?
Exactly.
So, and but that's not good enough, because what they couldn't have predicted was how much of a political force religion would become, starting with Billy Graham and Dick Nixon.
Of course.
And that's what is really needs to be called out, because up until Billy Graham, the religious right didn't really exist as we know it today. And Reagan really accelerated the religious side of the political equation, and it's disgusting. Like, I would love to have our next president be an atheist. That would be fantastic.
Right. I mean, you could probably argue that we have one with Trump because I don't really think he is particularly religious. He just puts on the front, but he doesn't actually practice. He doesn't actually care. But yeah, I completely fucking agree. Religion really is like the opium of the masses.
Um, all right, I'm pretty much good. We've been going for
Yeah,
an
me
hour and
too.
20. About.
Yeah,
I think that's a good stopping point.
yeah.
You guys all stay tuned. Let's see, we got today. We got the 25th and the 1st and the 8th. And then there'll be a huge announcement the day after the show on the 8th. So we got 3 more shows and then the big announcement. So buckle up. If you've watched this far into the stream, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe Stat Pat's feed as well, Stateless Patriot. You can find him on YouTube. Until the next time, I am reminding you to know the heart so you can vote with the head, and reminding you also that you don't get change in America by asking nicely.
You guys have a good night. See you next time.